Okay, so I'm from General Atomics, and yeah, I'm here to talk about two things, what we call a virtual object store and why we decided to make yet another HSM, which sort of flows well from what we had before. So just some background, General Atomics have been involved in storage for a long time, and we for a long time have been developing something called Nirvana, which is an object store, which the usual storage abstraction, federation, metadata repository, policy engine, audits, anything that you would expect. And I would just like to stress out that we really see it as a virtual object store. We don't want to reinvent the way you store files. There are so many systems out there that already do it. So we just layer on top of them. So you store your data in the file system you like, and we will just federate them, replicate them, manage them for you. And we will not be responsible for keeping your data around. That's for somebody else. And we will do it on anything, pretty much the support that has a file path, some basic permissions, and you can ingest data and get them back. Of course, we cannot support everything under the sun, but in theory we could. Now, Nirvana actually works pretty well, but I must admit it was not a real big success. And most of it, we believe, is due to we never took the time to implement standard APIs. We decided to make our own, obviously. And not many people bought into it. So what we decided to do in the last year is, well, let's change that. So we went for two legs. One, let's make an object storage API based on S3, and let's see if we can make a POSIX interface to it too, because a lot of people like POSIX. Now, Atticus Tree, as I said, Nirvana is essentially an object store by itself. It doesn't actually own the storage, but it really presents an object view to a federated storage underneath. So adding it on top of it was not hard. We have it there. It works. Great. Finally, you can talk to Nirvana, to something like Cloudberry Explorer, and it just works. Any library would work. Not rocket science, but we finally got there. The most interesting part was adding the POSIX interface. So Nirvana natively does not provide a full POSIX experience, and this is due to the fact that we support pretty much anything under the sun. So if your data is stored in the cloud, they don't provide POSIX, so we would need to provide it. And we didn't really want to do it because you would need to do some kind of caching file system in front of it in order to get there. So instead, we decided, let's see if we can leverage something else. We looked around, and we found GPFS. It's actually something that looks really, really promising for that. Why? Well, it's very mature and very reliable, highly scalable. It has multiple access protocols, native clients that are fully POSIX compliant, NFS in Samba. It even has an S3 interface. And it's natively HSM enabled through the MAPI, and it has rich ILM capabilities. So perfect, exactly what you want. So we went ahead and created this product that we called easyHSM, which is essentially an HSM solution on top of GPFS, and it can talk to Nirvana. So you use GPFS that provides all the namespace management that you need, full POSIX compliant, all the hot data is managed by GPFS, and easyHSM will move data in and out of GPFS into Nirvana as needed, as any decent HSM would. Perfect. We now have a great POSIX front end for Nirvana. Yay. Now, why did you decide to go for a completely new system? Well, first of all, nobody else, the existing system talked Nirvana, but most of anything else, all the other commercial software are really, really expensive. Most of them have capacity-based licensing, so the more you store, the more you pay. And we didn't think this was really something our customers would want. So we are not free either, we are not open source, but we have fixed pricing, which we think it's more fair. So you pay for the software that does the job for you. It doesn't matter if you're storing the hundreds of petabytes or 10 gigabytes on the other side. We do exactly the same work. Yes, you need more hardware, but the software should not cost more. once we get there, we looked at what we did and we said, you know what? There's really not much that is Nirvana specific in what we do. So how about we make it later more generic? And we did. So essentially, we modularized it, and the upcoming version, it's not yet out yet, but we are getting there fast, supports, apart from Nirvana itself, it supports POSIX and S3, just like Nirvana did before. So we can go, EasyHSM becomes a generic HSM solution for GPFS that can go directly to stuff like Isilon or NetApp or S3 or HGST or the Black Pearl if you want to go to tape. And it just becomes an EasyHSM, and we are marketing it that way too. So if you have a GPFS system and you just want to tier and you don't care about Nirvana, you can go this route. Of course, we are still very happy if you want to use Nirvana because we think there is value in it. So essentially my final slide is, why do we think EasyHSM has a chance in the world? Well, it's pretty much the only solution that really provides any protocol under the sun you can think. And it's mostly POSIX and object, but we could easily extend it to other things. It's meant to be that way. One design approach we took is we don't want to hide what we migrate. So the file path that you have in the external storage is pretty much the same file path that you have in GPFS. So you can go straight into the external storage and find your file without trying to figure out where the heck is my file. What is this object 1234 really? It really maps to something that you had already in GPFS. It's very scalable and low overhead, scales linearly with the number of hardware nodes. We took great path not to be in the path of hot data, so we only manage files that are on external storage. Anything that is already in GPFS, we don't touch it, we are not aware of, at least until you want to move it out. It's a pure software solution, so we don't sell hardware. We run on any hardware that can install GPFS, essentially anything that runs Linux on x86 these days. And as I mentioned before, we have fixed price licensing. And that's my talk, essentially. This will be posted. There are links how to get it. Just a quick final slide. What else happened in Nirvana for those who know Nirvana from before. We drastically speed it up, and we have a new administrator interface. But that's about it.